Hey guys, this is Darko. Today I will share with you tips on how to adjust your Samsung 2019 TVs. I will be demoing this on Samsung 65Q90R, a highly capable LED LCD TV with quantum dot technology, 120Hz VA screen, and full array local dimming. Even though this is a high-end TV, settings I will show apply to other models, including Samsung's UHD line, so outside of QLED line, because basic settings and tips are applicable to every model. And for those of you who just want my tips and main suggestions, I'll say them right now. The most accurate picture mode is movie, and mode with lowest input lag is game. So if you want to watch movies and TV shows, SDR or HDR, movie picture preset is the way to go. For games, use game mode. TV will come by default in standard picture mode, so if I press home and go here to this gear button and go up, you have this option to cycle through different picture presets. So by default standard, and then natural, movie, and dynamic. As I said, the most accurate one in terms of colors is movie, and that's the one I recommend to use. Now, if you find movie picture preset too dim, then I recommend you go to picture setup and adjust backlight control. And this is really individual, depending on your environment. Some will go to higher values, some will go to dimmer values. And what's also great, some Samsung TVs have ambient light sensor, so they can automatically adjust this control. So for example, if I put backlight to 35, then I need to go back to home menu, settings, general, echo solution, and here I can turn on and off ambient light detection. I can also adjust what is the minimum backlight level. So if I set default is 35, TV could automatically reduce backlight to level 5. And you can adjust this to the level you prefer. So these are basic adjustments for watching movies, TV shows, live TV, and so on. Now, if you want to learn more, continue watching, as now I will go back to this home menu, and this time I will press settings and go to this more detailed picture menu. Here you have picture size settings, where I recommend 16:9 and fit to screen turned on to get 1:1 pixel mapping and best sharpness. Picture in picture is related to option to see two different sources on the screen, so you can play with this. And then in expert settings, you have a full lineup of controls. Backlight I already mentioned, it affects how bright or dim the picture is. Brightness and contrast are for adjusting black and white level. Usually brightness is correctly adjusted, but maybe depending on your viewing environment you will need to tune it a bit. And contrast is white level. Usually it's set too high, so highlights could have certain warm hue, but then if you reduce it a couple of clicks, you get much nicer overall image. You should adjust this for your environment using white and black clipping patterns, which are available on the internet. You can get them for free. I will make a separate video. I need to make it to show you how to do it. But for now, these are my suggestions. So keep brightness as it is and reduce contrast a couple of clicks. In my case, I reduced it to 35. Sharpness I left at 0. This is like neutral level, which will just upscale picture, and TV will not add any artificial sharpening, any ringing around objects. But if you're watching standard definition DVDs or even HD, which needs to be upscaled to Ultra HD resolution of the screen, you can increase this a bit if you want. Now color and tint, I don't touch on modern TVs, it's correctly adjusted by default. Apply picture settings, you can copy settings from certain input to all other inputs using this control. Digital clean view is used to reduce noise in picture. It's very effective and you have different options here. Usually I don't recommend to use it, as I like to see original texture of films, but if you want you can use it, it's very effective as I said. Next we have Auto Motion Plus settings, where I recommend going with custom, and then depending on your TV you can have only judder reduction and LED clear motion, or if your TV has 120 Hz screen then you will also have this blur reduction. And blur reduction I recommend to max it out to get the highest motion resolution, the most details in motion. And then if you want soap opera effect in movies, or if you're bothered with judder, then you can increase this value. LED clear motion is black frame insertion technique, so this will further increase motion resolution, but it will dim the screen and you can also see flickering. I don't like to use it, I like this combination, but you try it for yourself and see what works best for you. Next we have local dimming, depending on the TV. Is it edge LED, is it full array local dimming? It can be more or less effective. You cannot disable it, you only have low, standard and high value. I prefer standard. It seems that TV is also designed for this value, which I discovered during calibration, and it gave the best result. Still, I need to highlight that Samsung TVs suffer from this global dimming effect, which will dim the screen if scene is very dark. Unfortunately, you cannot avoid it no matter how you play with this setting or with other settings available for users in these menus. Contrast enhancer is basically dynamic contrast. I like to leave it off. Color tone warm 2 is my recommendation to get the most accurate temperature of colors. White balance 2 point or dark and bright area of picture, and 20 point to fine tune it. I will not show how I adjusted this, as this is really individual, but you have controls to really get accurate white balance on Samsung TV. Next we have gamma control, by default at BT1886. This year Samsung also added 2.2 option, but actually my measurements using Kalman 2019 software reveal that with BT1886 you're actually closer to 2.2 value than with 2.2 by default, so I adjusted it like this and increased +1. But in your case you can play with this setting to get brighter or dimmer image. RGB only mode should be used only for calibration. Color space settings, I recommend auto, as this will map colors very accurately according to color space of the input signal. If needed, you also have these custom settings where you can adjust primary and secondary colors and get even more accurate colors. But without equipment, I recommend you stay with auto setting. And that's it in this menu. This TV also has this intelligent mode. If you go to settings and click here, and you will see different options. So with intelligent mode, TV should automatically adjust brightness, sound and also volume depending on your environment. I personally like to leave picture aspect at user's control, not to let TV adjust it. And in terms of brightness, I already showed that there is a light sensor control which you can adjust manually. But again, as this is your TV, try different settings, and maybe you will like this adaptive sound, for example. So why not? If you don't like it, simply disable it altogether. Okay, that concludes SDR settings. Regarding HDR settings, so when TV detects HDR signal, it will enter HDR mode, and you will see that if you go to these settings, you will see that this icon has HDR in its name. Again, the most accurate is movie mode, and here I recommend that you play a little bit with contrast control, because by default picture is a little bit too bright, and by reducing contrast you can get better amount of details in highlights. Of course, overall brightness will then be slightly reduced, so really try to play with this control until you get satisfactory result. Coming to gaming, you need to enable game mode to get lowest input lag for both SDR and HDR. Some Samsung TVs support auto low latency mode, so they will switch to game mode automatically when they detect signal from a game console, for example. But you can do this manually also by going to home menu and then coming to this option here. So here you have off, on and auto mode, or off and on depending on your Samsung TV. If you go up, you can jump straight to game mode settings, where you have these same options to toggle, and also this game enhancer, which will boost sound to this special sound preset, and you can adjust gamma here. It's basically like gamma control that you can play with. Then you can play with motion interpolation and blur reduction here. And finally, FreeSync option to avoid screen tearing, depending on is it PC input or Xbox, for example. So you can benefit also from this feature. Now you can also adjust picture in the same way you would, for example, in movie mode. And I actually recommend that you mimic movie mode as much as you can here, as picture in game mode by default is far from accurate. It's very similar to standard picture mode. So with these tips, I hope you will get a better picture quality from your Samsung TVs. You can really do a lot by yourself. But of course, if you want the best, the most accurate picture quality from your Samsung TV, I recommend hiring a professional calibrator. There are many out there who can help you. Or you can also go down this longer path by getting equipment and software and learning how to do it. It's really up to you. There are different options, but anyway, you can do a lot by simply switching to this movie mode and doing slight adjustments. It will take little of your time, but you will have a long-term benefit from all this. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Please let me know what you think about this video and how did you adjust your Samsung TVs. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and yeah, thanks for watching, and see you in my next video.